good news, we're being told, for mortgage holders. The OCR has been slashed. That's what everyone's saying. Slashed. It's been slashed by 50 basis points. Being told that mortgages could go back down below 4%. Being told that potentially in November there might be another 25 basis points taken off the OCR. It all sounds quite good if you have a mortgage. I'm assuming if you've got a big shit chunk of change in the bank living off the interest, not so good for you guys. But we thought, we don't really know anything about this, do we, Chewie? Numbers, math, that kind of stuff. So let's get on someone who can educate us and the people around us. He is the economist from the CTU. He is soon to be an award-winning podcaster. Just speaking that out to the universe. It's only bloody Craig Renney. Craig, good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, gents. How are you?
We're doing okay. As you can see, an element of lunacy has come back into the show since Monday night. I don't quite know what changed on Monday night, but something happened. Something happened in the atmosphere. Craig, how are you, man? What's going on?
I'm good. We've been looking at the OCR today, looking at the interest rate changes. I have been going into rooms and quietly screaming at myself at the idiocy that is the removal of job seekers benefit for 18 and 19-year-olds. Yep. There are, it's been a good day, and it's been sunny here in Wellington. It's been raining for weeks, so
I don't believe. Okay. We can believe a lot of what you've said, Craig, but that's just one step too far. Excuse me.
But believe it, it's been a really pleasant day here.
We don't have you here necessarily to talk about the job seeker conversation, but because we're going to cover off on that later on in the show. Maybe after we talk about the OCR, we'll get your thoughts on it, because I understand that's what the podcast is going to be on release tomorrow as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's have a chat about that at the end. And for a start, I was going to use the One News program, One News item on this, but I actually think we'll have a look at the 3 item, because TV3 ran with the OCR, but they also included some polling in their conversation. Now, we don't pay much attention to polling when it talks about how many seats and who would or wouldn't win. It doesn't really matter. But sometimes trends within polling and things like, how much confidence do we have in the business sector, that still gives us a snapshot of how New Zealand is today. So big drop in the OCR. Let's have a listen to what TV3 had to say about it, and then we'll have a bit of a chat.
It's been described as an early Christmas present for retailers.
Happy Christmas.
It will definitely take the heat off many homeowners. The Reserve Bank has responded to the sluggish economy by cutting the benchmark lending rate for the 8th time in a year. The official cash rate was today slashed by 50 basis points to 2.5%. It's the lowest rate since July 2022. It means for a household with a $500,000 mortgage, minimum repayments could be about $400 less a fortnight compared to a year ago.
Can I just say something about that? Sorry, I'm going to cut in a little bit here. That's such a bullshit thing that politicians do, because it's only going to make your mortgage that much cheaper if you happen to now fix. Like if you're on a 3-year fixed term already, it's not going to do a single cent to your mortgage. Now, my mortgage is due around this time of the year, so I'm like, choice. But they say this, the media and the politicians, like, hey guys, we've just given you an extra $400 a fortnight, but only if you're going to fix your mortgage in this period. There's not really too more to add to that, but if you want to say anything, either of you two?
Yeah, I do, because can you remember during the election campaign, we were going to get up to $250 a fortnight?
Yeah.
Right? The words up to, doing a lot of heavy lifting here. And I'd say in this show, the words up to, taking the heat off are doing a lot of heavy lifting in this show.
Yeah. The flip side of this as well, and there's an example here in the chat, we had to fix in fucking August. I've never been good with my fixing. Like, I've never got the good side. Like, for example, when COVID was about to kick off, I fixed just before COVID thinking, oh, the world's going to go crazy. Then it went like down to 0 and I missed all of that. Yeah. But so I feel your pain, but let's just make that clear. You can get, it's not like the government's come out and gone, for everyone, this is going to be money. It's like, if you happen to be in a very slim part of the economy where you haven't quite fixed yet, or you're currently floating, then it may benefit you. But this is not like a increase to, and everyone's not flush with cash all of a sudden. There we go.
Political correspondent Zane Small reports.
With the help of her broker, Stephen Robertson, Zoe Fisher and her husband purchased their first home together 5 years ago in Huia, with sweeping
nice.
views of the Manukau harbour.
I used to
We
live.
bought it for the early 8s, so I think it was 835.
It was 2020 at the height of the pandemic and interest rates were low.
Saw a rate in the sort of mid-2s and said, oh great, gonna just quickly fix for a year, that sounds awesome. Didn't call the mortgage broker, which we probably should have. A year afterwards, it jumped up into the high 6s, and we were paying about $1,500 more every month, which was really difficult for me and my husband.
They weren't alone. This graph shows how 2-year fixed rates went from a low of 3.47% in mid-2021 to 7.6% in October 2023, before trending down to 5.42%. A rates rollercoaster ride Stephen Robertson describes as tough on his clients.
A lot of them.
Sorry, I just going to say this. Blimmin' TV3 did him dirty by focusing on the puku, don't you think? I mean, come on, TV3. What are you doing? Portly man. This is a little bit of fat shaming, perhaps. Not fat shaming, portly shaming.
The ride Stephen Robertson describes as tough on his clients.
A lot of them have been hanging on, waiting for the big drop, and others have just said, look, I can't wait any longer. I need more money in the bank account for groceries, things like that.
But despite lower interest rates, economic momentum remains lacklustre. The latest quarterly survey of business opinion shows a drop in confidence in the 3 months to September, and that's seen as a key piece of data for the Reserve Bank when setting the benchmark for interest rates. Today, the central bank responded with a 50 basis point cut to the official cash rate, bringing it to 2.5%.
Hey, just very quickly, Craig, they're selling it like this is a bit of a surprise. From an economist's point of view, was this expected or is it a bit of a surprise? 50 basis points.
The argument was always whether or not it was going to be 25 basis points or 50 basis points.
Okay.
As the news has got worse over the past few weeks, more and more people have expected 50.
Okay. So it wasn't like for some of us who aren't really have our finger on the pulse like you guys do. It's like, well, that feels big, but you guys are saying it was always a possibility and became more so the worse things got.
It was always a possibility, but it's still quite rare. It's not something that happens all the time. And so you can't keep doing that.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
The lowest since July 2022.
This feels like a little bit of a final sort of confidence boost, a bit of a circuit breaker to say, hey, look, we've cut rates. You know, we think things need to be picking up. We want the economy to pick up. So here's some medicine to help you out.
A medicine the National Party no doubt hopes will boost its economic credentials.
How much smaller is the New Zealand economy today than it was when he became...
Oh, I'm just getting in here early because Whānau, if you've got like a sheet, you got a sheet to lay down on the floor because someone's guts are about to be exposed and this is... And guess what he does, Chewie? Guess what he does when he's looking for an answer or not telling the truth? Come on, Whānau. Say it with me. Here comes the stutter. Great question. And just you'll be cleaning up the blood for a while, Whānau.
Economic credentials.
How much smaller is the New Zealand economy today than it was when he became Prime Minister?
Well, again, the former Prime Minister needs to understand this. He created the problem.
The latest Taxpayers Union Courier poll out today shows National down 3.5 points to 29.6%, behind Labour on 31.2%.
Yeah, but Labour's also down margin error. Come on, guys. This is come on.
Down 2.6. The Greens are up to 12%, and Te Pāti Māori's also had a slight bump. On the right, New Zealand First is up, but ACT is down.
New Zealand First looks to be doing quite well in the polls. What do you think you're doing right?
Look, we just make confetti out of your polls.
Winston Peters is getting so old and senile, he can't figure out that they're saying, this looks really good for you guys. So that means he's saying, this looks really good for you guys. You watch us prove your polls wrong. It's like he's becoming so senile that he hears the word poll and he has to push back. The reporter's saying this is a good result for you. His response is, we'll prove you wrong. I mean, I hope you're right, Winston. I hope you're right.
On the right, New Zealand First is up, but ACT is down.
New Zealand First looks to be doing quite well in the polls. What do you think you're doing right?
Look, we just make confetti out of your polls.
It's been a long, hard winter, and yet I know that people are going to be judging next year on have you fixed what matters and done the work.
I know that lower interest rates result in the things that I want to see for New Zealanders, which is more investment, more job creation, higher incomes, and
Just think about all those minimum wage people going, oh, you've been right, Nicola. For such a long time, I've been looking where to put all that extra money in more investments. And now that my landlord is saving $400 a fortnight on his mortgage and not passing it on, I'm just going to go get my stock portfolio out right now and put that extra money away.
relief for everyday families.
For Zoe Fisher, it does make a difference.
We'd really like to eventually save up and get an investment property, and we've just not had the capacity to do that saving. So being able to put more money into the economy, going out for dinners, supporting local businesses, all that sort of thing is something we're really looking forward to being able to do again.
Homeowner aspirations now possible thanks to cheaper lending.
There you go. We'll leave it right there. So, Craig, OCR 50 basis points. I noticed on One News they had Barb Edmonds basically saying it was the Reserve Bank doing the work of the government because the government wasn't able to fix the quote-unquote, this is from their report, sluggish economy. The Reserve Bank had to come in with a big mallet and do something like this to help start fix it. So Barb Edmonds is kind of saying, she's not saying this is bad. Obviously, most of us think this is not a bad thing, but it's covering the ineptitudes of the government. What say you, sir?
It's good for some people. So if you own a home with a big mortgage, it's clearly good for you. You know, if you own a home
and
with
you
a big
hang on,
mortgage,
and you're fixing, and you're about to fix.
correct.
Yeah, that's a big part
and
of
you're
it.
about to fix, or you're on a variable rate, and if you're on a variable rate and you've got a big mortgage fix, then it's good for you. The only reason that the bank will cut the interest rate that quickly, bearing in mind we've had now 300 basis points or 3% cut off the OCR in a very short period of time, right? The only reason that happens is because the economy is tanking. You don't cut the interest rate when the economy is going really well. You don't cut the interest rate when unemployment is really low. You don't cut the interest rate when everything is happy in the garden and New Zealanders are feeling great, right? You cut the interest rate because things are not going well, and we're applying more medicine because things are still not going well, despite all the medicine that we've had to date. Now, there's a piece of jargon here, so stay with me for a second, because it's really important when you think about interest rates. There's a thing called the neutral rate. So the neutral rate is the interest rate that is not associated either with growth or with pulling back spending. It's the interest rate where it doesn't encourage people to go spend more money, or it doesn't encourage people to save. It's called the neutral rate. That's roughly 3%. Yeah. Okay. We've only just cut below 3% now. So all of the interest rate cuts that we've had to date, right? They've only just been bringing us to the neutral rate. This is the first time we've actually gone into something that's stimulating the economy.
And let me ask this neutral rate 3%, assuming therefore if you're under it, it's better to spend money, and if you're over it, it's better to save money?
Essentially what happens is that the people decide to spend, invest, do things. Yep. Anything above it, people say, ooh, I don't have the money, so I'm not going to invest.
Because if it's below that 3%, whatever it goes down to, it's easier to borrow. It's cheaper to borrow, so it's time to spend.
Correct. And there's a thing called the effective lower bound, which is the lowest you can get to. I won't bore you with the details. Long story short.
Thank you.
We've just got there, right? What that means is all of the interest rate cuts we've had to date haven't been stimulating the economy because they've been above the neutral rate.
Gotcha.
So this is the first time we've got some stimulus. Now, by convention, it takes a year for an interest rate cut to transmit itself to the real world. So, because people have to refix their mortgages, people have to make investment decisions, there are all sorts of things. As a consequence...
National's Facebook page says that it's almost an instant fire hose of money. Are you telling me that their social media team of 7 to 12 people are lying to me?
How dare you come on the show and tell lies, Craig? We trust you as a respected voice. Please, let's not mislead people.
Let's not mislead people. So every year, about half of all mortgages turn over, right? it takes about a year for all of
Does
those.
Sorry, idiot here. Turnover meaning refix, refinance. Is that what you mean by turnover?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
No, refix. As a consequence, you can imagine you make a decision a month later. Very few of those mortgage holders have refixed. So there's no new fire hose of money. Some people are encouraged to borrow, but again, it takes time to borrow. Companies are encouraged to invest, but the investment has to be designed, built. You have to buy new plants, new equipment, and often you don't get the output from that investment for months. So there's no new jobs, there's no new income. So it takes a really long time, and by convention, it takes about a year to 18 months for an interest rate cut to be felt in the real world. When you're making it, when I used to work at the Reserve Bank, we always used to talk about it. You make cuts for what's going to happen in 18 months' time, not what's happening today. And as a consequence, it's not doing the job that we think it wants to do, which is stimulating the economy today.
So this won't make a dang bit of difference for most people.
It'll inject some confidence. Some people will feel better. Some people might go out and spend some money because they feel in the short run as if they're a little bit better off. Yeah, even though they're not, because they don't actually have any new money. They just feel more confident on that space. But
it almost sounds like people often say that the reason you have security at an airport is to give the presence of a secure place, where actually security doesn't do very much at all. And they've done tests in how they get a knife past security, and it's not that difficult. It sounds like what you're almost saying is that a cut like this gives the appearance of people having more money, or it gives them the feeling that now they're better off when maybe they're not.
This is called the wealth effect in economics. Right. So we talk about people feel wealthier even though they're not. And as a consequence, they go out and spend money that stimulates the economy, creates new jobs, creates new income. And by magic, people suddenly are wealthier because they've done it without thinking about it. Now, the challenge here is that the economy, as we know, has been sinking for 9 out of the past 15 months. The economy is 1.3% smaller than it was at the election. There are
devastating question in the House. That was a devastating question.
There are there are approximately 35,000 fewer jobs than there were at the election, right? So you've got to do an awful lot of work to turn that around, right? There's less business investment. There's less commercial investment. There are empty shops in many of the high streets around the country. Yeah. So how are you going to get that going? Now, you can use monetary policy, you can use the interest rate, but that's a long run thing. You're doing that to change circumstances a year, 2 years from now. If you want to change things in the short run, you use fiscal policy. You go out and you spend more money for the government, or you deliver tax changes, or you do other things. The challenge we have is that we have a government that is committed to doing the opposite of the Reserve Bank. And the easiest way for your viewers and listeners to think about this is as if you had someone who was driving a car with both their foot on the accelerator, that's the Reserve Bank, and their foot on the brake, that's the government, at the same time. It doesn't do a lot, but the car just makes a noise, right? And that's essentially what we're doing right now. The Reserve Bank is putting its foot on the accelerator. It's saying, go faster. But the government isn't helping by putting its foot on the brake, slowing investment, slowing spending, reducing benefits, doing other things, which take the confidence away from consumers.
I wonder, could you explain to us, or if you have any ideas or thoughts around it, that if the interest rate, the OCR, is now 2.5%, what should we expect to see mortgage rates at? Because I'm looking as we're talking. I've just put up the banks that I've got something to do with. SBS at 4.75, 4.75-ish. ANZ 4.5 to, I mean, let's forget floating, talk about this, to 4.65. I did another one. Did I do it? I was going to do ASB as well. Doesn't matter. We'll leave it there. A 2.5% OCR, what should we expect? Because it doesn't feel like they're passing on like the 50% basis points that we've all just been given, if that's the right word. What should we expect?
Well, By convention in New Zealand, it's roughly about 2% is the net interest margin, 2 to 2.5%. So if the banks themselves are borrowing at 2.5%, then they can then lend out at 4.5%, 5%, somewhere in that range, depending upon how risky you are as a consumer.
Because there was lots of talk today about they might go down below 4%.
They might in the future, but not now. Because they'll be looking at the futures markets as well. And so to get technical about this, there's a thing called the swap, which is the difference between our rate and the US Federal Treasury Reserve's rate. And that's what we call the risk-free rate. So the banks can get that money risk-free at this rate. So they have to lend above that rate in order to make a real return. And so that's the margin that we use. So about 2%. So 4.5% is probably where they'll end up at the minute. And then we expect them to then fall a little bit further as we see further interest rate cuts in the future.
So they're talking about another 25 basis points in November. This is not financial advice to anybody watching or listening, but would that be something that you'd expect? Another 25 basis?
If you look at the, because I'm sure you all have, at the Reserve Bank's press release associated with.
I read them every night, Craig. It's what I read before I go to bed.
But, the very last paragraph, because you know me, I like to start from the bottom and work my way up, is on balance, the committee reached the consensus to reduce the OCR by 50 basis points to 2.5%. The committee remains open to further reductions in the OCR as required for inflation to settle sustainably near the 2% target in the medium term. That's code for more cuts. More cuts are coming.
I want to talk to you about this other conversation, but first of all, Chewie, OCR, home loans, anything else for Craig before we kind of move on?
Why keep fixing it at 1 year? I should have done more during COVID, but still. I just see the government, social media, and actors joining in on this, capitalizing on the general public's lack of understanding about what this means, to put the message out there going, we're saving you $400. Aren't we good economic stewards? And it is smoke and mirrors and flim-flammery. And we need to get this message out there as much as possible, that just because their social media say you have $400 in the bank more, it's not true.
It's not true. You
can't believe it.
If I might, Chewie, there are also a couple of things that are going to make you annoyed more about this, so I'll chuck them out gently now.
Oh, good.
When we cut the OCR, one of the things that happens is the New Zealand dollar starts to depreciate against other currencies.
Yeah, it dropped 1% today.
Yeah. So that puts up petrol prices. That puts up imported goods, because we import these goods, we have to pay foreign currency for them. So we buy petrol or fuel in US dollars usually. So
we don't, Craig. Sorry, we don't buy fuel.
Yeah, you mentioned
fuel. What is this? What is that petrol thing?
I don't even know her.
Yeah,
don't know.
So even the Indonesian coal that's currently keeping the lights on in Huntly, we pay for it in US dollars, right? As a consequence, that's going to go up. That puts up inflation. Inflation may well breach the 3% target, the top of the target, in the very short run.
Right.
2, and I can't stress this enough, this is all based upon a plan, right, which was written by Bill English in 2014, which is that the way we're going to grow the economy is to sell houses to each other again. That there's no growth, there's no sustainable jobs. The only way this is going to work is if we all pretend that we're all a little bit wealthier because our house prices have gone up, right? We're going back to an economy that looks an awful lot like 2015, right? Where the fastest route to wealth is to own somebody else's home.
Right.
This is not an economy any of us should want. It didn't work the first time round. And if you're on a low income, it certainly doesn't work in the future for you now. So yes, there's mortgage holders can celebrate if they're likely to refix their mortgage soon. And pro tip, if you're going to do that, only refix half your mortgage, because then you halve the exposure to the interest rate changes. But if you want to do that, we shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be celebrating whether or not OCRs go up or down. It should actually be a really dull statistic, right? The fact that we've built our entire economy on this is the problem.
Just for future reference, when you need to learn your audience that you're talking to, like if you had have said, when we're paying for our enamels in American dollars, then you would have had me 100%. We're getting suggestions in the chat that maybe you might need one of these for your lapel, the tax work less and tax wealth more there, Craig. But speaking of, before we ask you that last about that last topic, the other topic, there's a couple of questions directly for you, if you're cool with that. Gold says, what considerations would this have for someone currently looking at getting a mortgage?
The answer is be as aggressive as you humanly can be. Go into the shop or go and get an advisor and say, and then walk out of the shop and walk to the next shop and tell the people that the best deal I got there was this.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like negotiating a wage. You never have more power than when you enter into a mortgage or when you enter into a job. And as a consequence, negotiate like hell, because it's really hard to change it after you've done that decision.
And there's one other one here. It's a bit of a highbrow question. I don't know if our audience will quite understand this. To Craig, on the scale of 1 to 10, how fucked are we?
Right now, we're currently
assuming
10 is bad and 1 is good.
No, I'd say 10 would be good, wouldn't it? What would you say, Chewie?
See, this is it. We need an SI
the scale is how fucked are we? And I would say,
so 10 is bad.
Is absolutely turbo fucked.
Yep. Okay. No, that's good. Yep. Okay. So 10 is turbo fucked. Gotcha.
On that basis, right now we're at about an 8.5. Things could be worse, right?
Yeah.
But they are bad. Let's call a spade here, right? You've got thousands of jobs being lost. No one has any money. Everyone was promised something that hasn't turned up in terms of that laser-like focus on the cost of living. No one feels any wealthier, and we don't have an engine of growth that's going to pull us out of the mire of where we are right now. And that's the problem.